AITA because I didn't tell my roommates I own the house and letting them evict themselves? I, F28, own a house. I wish I didn't because I inherited it from my grandmother whom I would prefer to have back. It is an older house in a mature neighborhood in my city. It has a huge yard, a garden, and a detached garage large enough for a couple of cars and an RV. It also has an in-law suite where I live. I started living there when I started university and I love it. My exit leads to the backyard and my garden. After the estate was all settled, I was left with a little money and a fully paid off house. I am the baby of all the cousins, and I was an oops baby. I am 17 years younger than the next youngest. I decided that I would keep living in my area and just take on short-term renters to help me cover expenses. I also planned to allow any of my nieces and nephews who went to school in my city live with me. So far only my one nephew has, and he was well behaved and moved out when he finished school. I found a couple that wanted the entire upper floor for 1 year while they got settled from moving across the country for work. No big deal. I have 3 nibblings graduating the next year, and only one might go to school in my city. So I let my property manager set up a 1-year lease. My city does not have a minimum rental increase. This is important. So after 6 months the problems start. The wife got pregnant. And they like the house. They have not found a house they want to buy. They want to keep living here. But they don't want a roommate. So one day the husband catches me and says that he has talked to the property manager about renting the entire house and that I might want to start looking elsewhere for a place to live. I check with my guy and yup, he wants the whole house. So I talk to my lawyer because I don't want any problems. As long as the increase is 1 year after tenancy and I give 3 months notice, there is literally no limit on the rental increase. So I tell my property manager to raise the rent for the ground level 50%. They have 5 months notice of a rental increase, so I am in the clear. Now I can hear them fighting about having to find a new place. Which I don't get because I was clear in the lease that it was only for 1 year. And I gave them a good price because they had excellent credit and rental history. The real estate market in my city isn't crazy. They should be able to find something to buy in time. Or at the very least somewhere else to rent. I have talked to my parents about this, and they said I'm being sort of mean. I don't think I am. I have a plan for my home, and it does not involve me moving out. I have a garden that I worked with my grandmother my entire life. I have a yard with raspberry bushes my grandfather planted for his kids and grandkids. My dog likes having a yard to play in. I could have told them it's my home, but it's not their business. AITA. NTA. When the husband told you to start looking, he told you exactly what he'd do if the roles were reversed. He'd kick you to the curb. Funny that they did not even respect your seniority and wanted to kick you out of the house you occupied beforehand. You can get rid of them with no guilt. Also, the fact that she's pregnant is of no importance here. She can manage her stress by herself. Not your problem. Edit. Wow, thank you everyone for all the awards and points and stuff. I didn't expect my comment to have such impact. They are sounding extremely entitled. The husband assumed that just because he wanted the whole house, he'd get it. But I'm surprised that after rooming with Op for half a year, they haven't figured out that she's the owner. Have they not asked too much about the history of house that they are living in? NTAN for y'all renters who don't understand. 1. If you own a property and still living there, you absolutely do not want the other renters to know you own the place. That's a nightmare and headache. Op did right by creating distance with a PM. 2. With COVID, LLs are spooked about PPL overstaying. Op referred to their lawyer, and the lawyer said to go the route of increasing rent so dramatically. Op wants them out with no chance of a judge saying blah blah homeless blah blah. They aren't getting evicted. They can stay, just have to pay more. 3. NTA 4. Op doesn't owe the tenants the knowledge that they own the place. If they told the husband, no, a situation is created that Op cannot avoid since they are living in the same place. You ever had a roommate or fam you're angry with but can't avoid? Imagine that. NTA. Edit. Sorry, some got downvoted for asking questions. I'll clear up a few things since 10 hours later, there still seems to be confusion. Source. I'm a landlord and I also worked heavily with renters when I was a realtor, not active now but still hold my license. Most people do not look up property owners. 90% of the population probably don't know where to get the info or how to accurately search the data. Most people live in an apartment complex or corporation-owned property. So we're trained to think, oh, Acme owns this. You're renting a house, your behavior won't change in that, you'll think, oh, Acme owns this. BOP has a lawyer. Any good lawyer would have wrapped that property in a trust, established in Wyoming even if the house is in Nick. Why? Asset protection. I'd be shocked if the house is in OP name or easily tied to her. And established in Wyoming for a reason instead of the home state. Ask me how I know? I got lawyers. See? Someone said it well. OP presented dilemmas to the tenants, not a problem. A problem, no renewal, has a solution, I'll just overstay the lease, whereas a dilemma, stay and pay 50% more or leave, has two problems with no solutions. Hence, why she's now hearing the tenants argue. Anecdotes are great, but most people should not be LLs. A lot of people fell into the house hacking, self included. Only to find that being a PM while living with your tenants is a fucking nightmare. Hey, toilet's clogged with my shit and tampons, can you plunge it? Lights out, I need a new bulb. Or, the envy, pettiness and unpleasantness when they know you own the place and they don't. Then you start getting slumlord comments, capitalism eat the rich shit. You're getting rich off me. Imagine coming home to that every day? Affordable housing is tough to get. If you find a property that you like and it's affordable to you, do nothing to make the owner not want to rent to you. And that concludes my TED Talk. Thank you for the upvotes, but please don't downvoted people who ask honest questions. NTA. You could have told the guy it's your house, but TBH, like you said, it's not really his business. I'm honestly shocked at the audacity to tell you to prepare to leave just because he mentioned to the property manager about potentially renting the whole house. What if you were a resident but your lease was longer term? This is just odd on so many levels. Don't get why your family is against you either. You gave the tenants plenty of notice it wouldn't be possible, so they can find a place that better suits their needs. NTA. The audacity of your tenant to just tell you to move out. Him just assuming that he somehow had the right to push you out is a-holish. You didn't cause the fight between him and his wife. If they want a bigger space they can search for a new rental and move out. They have 5 months, which is more than enough time to find a new place. AITA for yelling at another parent during pickup. I tried to type this out without using the name, and it wasn't comprehensible. So if anyone I know sees this, no you didn't. Here's what happened. My son's name is Robin. It's just those 5 letters. It's not a nickname. The mom of one of the kids in his class is convinced his name is Robert. She volunteers at pickup. I'll drive up and she'll go to get my son yelling Robert, Robert. Now, the first few weeks I brushed it off because learning the names of a bunch of different kids is hard. I would just tell her when she came back over with my son, actually his name is Robin. I've said this almost every single day for over a month now. Last week I saw her at a school function and went up and introduced myself and basically said, I'm Robin's father. You might recognize me from pickup. By the way, his name isn't Robert. Her response confounded me. She said Robin is a girl's name, it's unisex, but it's way more common for boys, so what? And not a good nickname for Robert, so she'll call him his real name instead. I tried to correct her, since Robin isn't a nickname, but she wandered away. The next time she walked up to my car I got annoyed and said, I'm here for Robin. Robin. She did it again. On Friday, when she called my son Robert, I asked her what her problem was in a very loud voice. I shouted loud enough that a teacher ran over. The volunteer mom ran away, and I tried to explain. The teacher looked at me like I had 3 heads and said she would go get my son. I got an email later asking me to come in Monday for a meeting. I don't know how to approach this. Should I apologize for yelling? Should I demand an apology for the constant disrespect? Should I ask the mom not be allowed to volunteer anymore, or at least not get my son? I feel like I tried to be reasonable, but maybe I was too sensitive? NTA email back. I look forward to meeting with you to discuss volunteer parent bullying my child and an appropriate course of action going forward to prevent this from continuing. I agree. I am a teacher and we try very hard to honor student names. The parent in this scenario is trying to push her gender bias on your son and on all of you. I would go into that meeting prepared to accuse her of discrimination and, if the school backs her up, of them supporting her being discriminatory against your son. Her reasoning for it calling him Robin is because she believes it is a girl name. You attempted to clarify politely and she doubled down and continued. Now it's harassment and it's gender bias. Be sure to use those terms and be sure to ask the school if they support her discrimination. NTA. While I wish I'd held my temper on Friday, I was at my wit's end with this woman bullying my child by calling him a different name from his given one. I've reminded Mrs. Volunteer Mom on numerous occasions that his name is Robin, but she refuses to call him anything but Robert, which is not his name. If this were another child doing this to Robin, I'd expect the school to intervene and stop the behavior. As it was a parent, I was hoping an adult would see that calling a child a different name was mean, but the only response I got was an insistence on calling him Robert because they believed Robin a girl's name. Honestly, I wouldn't have expected this response from an adult. She continued to call him Robert, and I defended my child once again on Friday. At this point, if she can't stop, I'd prefer her to be removed from the volunteers. I particularly dislike that someone who represents the school, even if it's just in a volunteer capacity, treats children this way. Please tell me how you plan to address this and make it right. First, NTA. This volunteer is knowingly and deliberately calling a child at the school by the wrong name. Next, a meeting. Be super nice. You're the more reasonable person in this situation, so act like it. Keep an even, calm voice no matter what. Relaxing tone that says we're all okay here. Write down detailed notes of what has taken place and present it as evidence. Keep it factual. Include dates and times of events where you can. Facts only, no opinions. When you spell out what's been happening, follow up with the question to the principal or whoever, given what I have said, the actions I took to politely correct the volunteer's behavior and her repeated abuse of my son, what would have been the right thing to do? Tone here is crucial. You're asking for help, not making an accusation or insinuating that they're idiots, which they may well be. If you like, you could also apologize. In hindsight, I realized that I should have taken the matter of the volunteer's behavior up directly with you or with the district department. However, at the time I felt that I couldn't continue to stand by and let my son be deliberately demeaned by a person in a position of power.